And in those, show you how to make 50 cards in just a few short hours. Now, I love a 2-for-1. And I know you love a 2-for-1. That's when you can use both sides of a project to create 2 cards, not just one. And I also love my gel plate. And I heard that a lot of you are really curious about working with a gel plate. And you're probably looking for some fun, easy projects to incorporate into your holiday cards. So we're going to use the gel plate. And we're going to create some amazing projects. We're going to dirty this up and we're going to have a ton of fun doing it. So dust off your gel plate, get ready to craft. We're going to have a great time working on these amazing projects. Okay, so here we are down on the tabletop, and I know you're looking, you're like, where is the gel plate? We're going to get to that, I promise. I'm going to take a look at a few of these cards though. Aren't they gorgeous? They are all different and unique. A little bit of bling on them. They're all really quite amazing. And there's 2 styles that you're going to be able to create with this. This is our 2-for-1 action going on here, right? So we've got one that has the snowflake kind of done up in the gel plate itself. And then we have one that's actually glued on to a gel plate background. And we're going to get that by using die cuts. So we need to do some die cutting first. And I kind of like to batch things up, especially when I'm making multiples. So we're going to start off by doing some major die cutting. Okay, I've got 2 snowflake dies here. Now you can use any snowflake die you have. Mine are listed in my supply list, so definitely take a look at these because they work really well together. So for one, we're going to want to create a whole bunch of vellum snowflakes. These are the ones that are going to go on the top when we're finished. And you're going to want one for every card, regardless of whether you're using the gel plate print or the one that has the die cut on it. See how they both have that vellum piece on there? So you're going to want enough to put one on every card you plan on making. Okay, so I have a whole pile of them here so I can get all 50 of my cards done. Now let me tell you, vellum is a little persnickety, right? So sometimes when you're pulling it out of the die, you might break a little arm here. Guess what? Keep this because we're going to be gluing these down and you're never going to see that little spot there where it is ripped. You'll be able to put them back together. So if you do have some casualties like this, never fear, we will be able to use these guys again. Okay, so I'm just going to set those guys to the side. And the next thing we're going to need is a whole bunch of cardstock snowflakes, and I've decided to just use white. It's easy enough. White is like the cheapest cardstock there is, so this is probably the best way to go, so you're spending a little less on that. All right, so my second die, I'm going to cut out half as many snowflakes as what I need for my project because I'm going to get them coated in paint, and as I get them all painted up and used, I'll set them aside. And so half of my cards will have the die cut on them like this, and half of my cards will be the gel plate printed one like this. Okay, so I've got all of these snowflakes. I've got all of these snowflakes. We're going to use these right away. We're going to set these vellum ones aside to the very end, and now they're all ready to go, so I can dive into the next steps. All right, so I know, still no gel plate. We're still batching some things up here. So the next thing I'm going to do is batch up my sentiments. I have these strips that I'm going to foil, and I also have some sentiments that I'm going to foil. Now I started off by doing them in gold, but I actually kind of prefer them in copper. So even though I have some gold ones left, I'm going to use those, but I'm going to do the rest of these up in copper. And we're going to 2-for-1 these as well. So let's take a look at how this is going to go down. Now, I am a newbie to hot foil, but let me tell you, it is not hard and it's not scary. So this first set here is a whole bunch of little sentiment strips. And can you see what I have done? I took a piece of Post-it tape or mint tape or whatever, and I put it sticky side up. And I took all of the sentiments that I want to use, and I put them so that they are centered a 1/2 inch apart from each other. So I put one in this little space here using my mat. So you see how I've got that worked up in my mat there. And then I skipped a 1/4 inch space, and then I put another one, and then skipped a space, put another one. This is going to help me make sure that I've got enough room for die cutting when I'm done. And it's also going to help me have enough room to use the opposite of the foil when I'm done. So this is a total 2-for-1. We're going to go ahead and pop this foil on my piece of cardstock here. All right, and what I like to do is just get it secured in place so it's not flying up. And I just have to grab like the littlest bit there. Sometimes it goes over the edge, and I'll show you one that's like that in a second here. All right, so I've got my foil on my cardstock so that it's nice and secure. And then I've got my hot foil press over here. So let me zoom out and show you the rest of the scene we've got going on here. There we go. So now you can see like everything that's going on. There we go. So I've got my, and it's ready to go. So this is my Gemini foil press. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by taking my pile of sentiments, and I'm going to kind of mark where I've got them going. So this one I moved a little bit. There we go. So I can tell where it is on my mat here, and I know where my foil is on my paper. So I'm going to go ahead and just get that down in place. And if you work with the foil press, you know you're going to put your cover over the top, and we're going to press the button, and we're going to let this heat up. Okay, so then this comes off and it goes right into my Gemini. And all the warnings will tell you that everything is hot, and it is a little on the warm side, but I haven't been burnt by anything yet. I'm just using my hands, so it's not been an issue. I haven't had to use the tweezers or anything like that. Okay, so now that that's done, I can go ahead and take this off, and you can see, ooh, I've got some heat embossed words. Let's take off our layer here and see what we've got. Oh, look at that. So now I have a whole sheet of words, and I'm going to be able to go ahead and die cut these just like the other ones. I'm going to pull it out so you can see what that looks like. So see, it's just going to be die cut with little flag ends. So that's all I'm going to do with these. But I have this whole sheet right here that still needs to be used, right? So if you're going to do hot foil, I recommend you get one of these. It is a solid plate, and this is going to go on here and heat up while I'm prepping my sheet again. So I'm going to take another sheet of white cardstock because I want my words to be white. So you could do this on any color. It would make the words a different color, no matter what you did. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to my white cardstock. All right, so that's good to go. I got to wait for this to heat up for a second here. All right, the beep says it's time to go. So now I'm just going to flip this over onto my foil plate and make sure that it's kind of nice and smoothed down. Put my protective plate over the top, set my time. This has to go just a little bit longer because it's a bigger plate. And we're going to heat this up again and run it through our Gemini. Let's see what we've got. So you know you're going to have a really good result when it's nice and stuck down on that piece of cardstock. And you just kind of have to tease off an end here. Sometimes the tape will help. And I'm just going to pull off the backing, and it left all of that coppery goodness right on my cardstock. There we go. So sometimes these end up being a little bit more distressed, but I think for the look that I've got going on with the gel plate, these are going to look just amazing. All right, so this is the moment you've all been waiting for. We're going to do some gel plate printing. I've got my 5.5 by 11.5 gel plate down, and I'm using the grid underneath to help make some lines here. So you can see I've got these 2 arrows. Those are coming down on some grid lines that I'm going to use to help align my elements. I'm using this stencil that has this really cool decal edge to it. And as you can see, I put some lines around it, and these lines are going to help me kind of center everything. I'm going to use the center line to match it right down that line right there. That's going to help me create one card. And I'm going to take one of my die cut snowflakes and pop it right on my gel plate. Just kind of stick it down a little bit. And then I'm going to move my template over to the other side, follow my line, and put down another snowflake. All right, so I've got 2 snowflakes in place. That means we're going to be making 2 cards with this. I've got my paper all cut up. This is just regular 100% cotton resume paper. It's a really great weight for pulling gel plate prints. And I've got these cut down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I also have some 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 sheets here that we're going to use for brayering off and for grabbing some extra prints for those backgrounds. And I've got all sorts of acrylic paints here. These are Dina Wakley. You can use any kind of acrylic paint that you have. I've got shades of blue, copper, silver, and white. All right, so I'm going to start off by just putting a couple of dollops of paint. This is the midnight color, so or the night color. It's kind of dark, as is this marine, but this is a little bit more of a green in it. And I'm going to put down some of the ocean as well. As you can see, you don't really need a whole lot. So I'm going to work just on one side to start with. And I'm going to use my brayer to get this paint to come across on the gel plate. You want your layers to be nice and thin. You don't want to have to overwork them either because you want to see all of those colors coming through. We're just trying to do one layer prints here. So I'm going to take that stencil. I'm going to put it right back in place. I'm going to pull up my snowflake. We're done with this. This is going to be great for one of our 2-for-1 cards. So we'll set that aside. Take one of our papers and go ahead and use our markings again to make sure that it's nice and centered in here. Press down. And after that's had a little bit of smoothing out, we'll go ahead and lift up the corner here. And here's where the magic happens. Ta-da! We've got a beautiful snowflake on here, a really cool background. So this is number 1. I'll lift this up, move to our other side here that we had all set up. Now you can work on a single side if you want. You don't have to be working 2 sides at once if you don't want to. If this is just too much for you, obviously you can just go ahead and do 1. No big deal. If you don't feel like you've got enough paint going on, add some more. Be adventurous with your color selections. See what happens, what kind of really cool things you can create with your paint. Once you've got that down nice and thin, again, you're going to brayer it off onto your sheet on the side here. Take your stencil and pop that in place. This is kind of giving you just enough time to help the paper or the gel plate dry a little bit. Go ahead and lift off my snowflake. This one's got like a kind of a cool silvery gray look to it. And we'll pop our piece of paper down. Now remember, there was blue and this marine color and stuff going on underneath first, and then we put the white top of it. So we're going to see some of that darker color peek through once we got this all stuck on here. Let me pull it up. Check that out. So gorgeous. All sorts of really neat color combinations going on. And of course, that snowflake right in there. Okay, so now that we've done this, if we want to grab some of those solid sheets, what we want to do is add in some more paint first. So let's get some paint on here. Now we might pick up a little bit of the snowflake that's on here that's residual. That's okay. I've got some paint on there. Let's add another color. You can see I'm just kind of randomly putting it on there. I'm randomly brayering. Just want to get a completely random look. All right, so this is nice and coated. Again, brayering off on the side here. This will be a really cool sheet when I'm done. Now I'll go ahead and take one of these larger sheets. Just do a little pressing here and pull that up. Now I've got this really cool background that I'll be able to use for some of my projects. And again, I'll just grab this little bit here. All right, and then when I do my next one, I'll come and grab a little bit more off of this one. So now I've got another clean start here. And I'll go ahead and work on some more of my snowflakes. These are all ready to go. They're going to look fabulous as well. So as you know, we're going to be doing two different styles here. So let's put one together of one and one together of the other, and that will wrap up our project. So for this one, this is the one where we had the die cut on here, and then we pulled the print after we pulled the die cut off. So this is all flat, all flat, nice and dry, ready to go. That's just going to get put right on your card base. And it's right on there. Super, super simple. You could leave it just like this. You don't need to do any extra embellishment to it, but if you want to, and I do encourage doing it, take one of those vellum pieces, right? Because we cut enough of these for all of our cards. So we're going to just tease one of these vellum pieces apart here. All right, and we're just going to put some adhesive in the center. Here's a great thing. We don't have to worry about hiding the adhesive because it's going to hide itself. I'm using liquid Tombow adhesive here. I'm also going to put a little dot on these little X's here. This is going to help keep these little arms from getting pulled and falling off. So get one on each of those. All right, so there we go, just a little bit of glue on all that. And I'm going to place it so that it is kind of opposite. So the arms are coming up in between the arms of the snowflake behind it. That just needs to sit for a second or two to grab onto our painted background. All right, and once that is adhered, that is on. And for these, I'm using the Scripty sentiments and popping them down in the corner like so. Got all of these done. It is like no brainer. Just pick one up and put it on your card. I mean, it is so easy when you have everything done already that you don't have to think about it. You've already got your one sample finished, so everything else just needs to come together after that. It's super simple and easy to put together. And there you go. One card down, lots more to go. So the other style, I have this one actually opening from the top. What I did is I took all of those extra pieces that I pulled off of the gel plate and I trimmed them down so that they would have the same kind of torn edge. Just used a ruler and made a jagged edge around the sides here. So I cut them down so that they would be about the same size as the panel here. So it's about 3 3/4 by 5. All right, so you're gonna put that down as a background. So now this looks just like this, except it doesn't have the snowflake on, right? So then I'm going to take one of our painted snowflakes, and this needs to get a drop of adhesive basically on all of these little dots here. This is probably the most time consuming part, is to put just a little drop of adhesive on that whole thing. And it's nice that this one has a hole in the center. I can stick my finger right in there, go all the way around. And then I like to put a little drop on the zigzag here, just to give it a little extra staying power. There we go. And this is going to get placed the same way that these are. So just take a cue, and this little part here is going to go straight across like so. Give it plenty of room all the way around. And then just hold it down for a second. Sometimes it helps, once you've got it stuck down a little bit, to flip it over. Just give it a nice rub. Liquid adhesive, you know, it takes a minute or two to dry. And when it's sticking to that acrylic paint, sometimes it takes just a hair longer. So there we go. So that's all nice and stuck on there. See, look at that, isn't that gorgeous? It's very rustic, it looks really cool. We're gonna take another one of our vellum snowflakes and again, go all the way around. It's gonna go in the same place. So again, just kind of straight across so that it goes up in between. Let that sit for just a second here. There we go. And for our greetings on this one, actually, I'm just going to turn this over while we're reading here. I'm going to pull out one of these greetings. Like, let's cherish the season. And we're going to put some double-sided foam adhesive on here to help this guy pop up a little bit. These foam strips are really great. These are like what you would use for a shaker card. They work great for sentiment strips, right? I just pop them up enough. They're nice and thin, so you don't have to worry about putting anything else down. Here we go. We're just going to pop our sentiment in the middle here. So as you can see, you can certainly batch these up, do various parts over various days if you want to break them up that way. You can totally batch them all up and do them in one day. All sorts of options here, right? So I'm going to do a few more. As I'm wrapping up this assembly line here, I want to talk to you guys for a minute about my freebie. If you are excited at all about using your gel plate for your holiday projects or any other project for that matter, you're going to want to grab my freebie. It's called the Quick Start Guide to Gel Plate Printing for Crafters, and it includes all sorts of really great information to get you started on the right foot. It's got all the bare necessities listed out for you so you know exactly what you need to get started with simple gel prints. And it's also got a couple of techniques and my famous technique sheets in there to grab and start creating your own technique binder. So it's also got a few extras in there that you're going to definitely want to check out. So all you have to do is follow the link and go ahead and grab this freebie. It is totally free. So why it's a freebie? It's as easy as that. Wow, what a whirlwind.